Anglo Saxon poem The Wanderer. First page of The Wanderer from the Exeter book. Author unknown. Language Old English. Date impossible to determine. Provenance Exeter book. Genre Elegy. Verse form alliterative verse. Length 115 lines. The Wanderer, Old English poem. The Wanderer is an Old English poem preserved only in an anthology known as the Exeter Book, a manuscript dating from the late 10th century. It counts 115 lines of alliterative verse. As is often the case in Anglo Saxon verse, the composer and compiler are anonymous, and within the manuscript, the poem is untitled. Contents. The wanderer conveys the meditations of a solitary exile on his past happiness as a member of his Lord's band of retainers, his present hardships, and the values of forbearance and faith in the heavenly Lord. The warrior is identified as Yetstapa, usually translated as wanderer, who roams the cold seas and walks paths of exile. He remembers the days when, as a young man, he served his Lord, feasted together with comrades, and received precious gifts from the Lord. Yet fate turned against him when he lost his Lord, kinsmen, and comrades in battle. They were defending their homeland against an attack, and he was driven into exile. Some readings of the poem see the wanderer as progressing through three phases. First, as the Anhoga, solitary man, who dwells on the deaths of other warriors and the funeral of his lord. Then, as the Motserig man troubled in mind, who meditates on past hardships and on the fact that mass killings have been innumerable in history, and finally, as the Snorter on Mod, man wise in mind, who has come to understand that life is full of hardships, impermanence, and suffering, and that stability only resides with God. Other readings accept the general statement that the exile does come to understand human history, his own included, in philosophical terms, but would point out that the poem has elements in common with The Battle of Maldon, a poem about a battle in which an Anglo Saxon troop was defeated by Viking invaders. However, the speaker reflects upon life while spending years in exile and to some extent has gone beyond his personal sorrow. In this respect, the poem is a wisdom poem. The degeneration of earthly glory is presented as inevitable in the poem, contrasting with the theme of salvation through faith in God. The wanderer vividly describes his loneliness and yearning for the bright days past and concludes with an admonition to put faith in God, in whom all stability dwells. It has been argued by some scholars that this admonition is a later addition, as it lies at the end of a poem that some would say is otherwise entirely secular in its concerns. Opponents of this interpretation, such as I.L. Gordon, have argued that because many of the words in the poem have both secular and spiritual or religious meanings, the foundation of this argument is not on firm ground. The psychological or spiritual progress of the wanderer has been described as an act of courage of one sitting alone in meditation, who through embracing the values of Christianity seeks a meaning beyond the temporary and transitory meaning of earthly values.